Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Rain, The Rise of the Lich, Book 2 in the Silver Blood Knight series by Carol McKibben, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Rain's Vision. Destiny plots a course we must follow. It had been said that two kinds of destiny exist, one we can change, and one that cannot be altered. All my life I'd been told I was a miracle, born for a purpose, with a destiny to fulfill. As I sprawled in front of a roaring fire, one that I was unable to feel, I stared into the violet eyes of the boy who had a destiny that could not be changed. Adam reached out and stroked my long salt and pepper fur as he squatted next to me in our new home outside of Rome. He was born to former vampires, Brogio, the original bloodsucker, and Selene, his former moon goddess mate that he had made kindred. Both were now human. That they were no longer kindred, but had been restored to their former state, had been no small miracle. It had been prophesied that their son would be the greatest wizard of all ages. The teenager next to me was a fraud of sorts. He was the product of his spell, his conjuring that replicated the 5-year-old boy into his 18-year-old duplicate. He appeared as Adam in every way, only older. To placate his parents, this duplicate would remain with us until the real boy turned 18 and was allowed to leave home and join us. Teenaged Adam sat in disbelief at my recent vision, an ability I inherited from Enzo, my sire. I'd just shared it with him, James, and the 10 Moretti brothers, all scattered around our grave. James and the Morettis were hybrid vampire Lycans, and their destinies had all been changed to match ours. I was a hybrid as well, and the single male offspring of Moon, a blended she-wolf vampire, and her spirit wolf, Enzo. Their coupling was supposed to be an impossibility. I was living proof that it was not. Except for Adam, all of us were immortal. Thoughts of my vision rambled through our collective brains telepathically. We were connected mentally, and we had all been anointed by God the Father's angels as his warriors, created to fight against and rid the earth of evil. Thoughts of the newly formed Lich in my vision consumed us all. James, to whom I had sworn my loyalty, knelt next to me. Run us through your vision one more time, Rain. Take us through it slowly. I closed my eyes and replayed it for them. I am in Rome at the Quirinal Palace, residence of the President of Italy. A man of 78 years of age sits in a chair near a large stone fireplace. The room is opulent, filled with art, and appears to be covered with gold ornaments everywhere. I can see into the man's soul. He is a corrupt politician. I read his mind. He is Sergio Matisse, and he used dark magic to become president of Italy. He strives for more. He wants immortality. He stands, and unto his soul is a black mire of soot that spins in perpetual hunger. I understand that he is a powerful magician, skilled in necromancy. He has emitted a spell, a ritual he has repeated over many years. He holds up an object. It is an amulet. The round gold metal object is encrusted with what looks like emeralds and amethysts surrounding a small covered enclosure. I watch as he places strips of parchment containing arcane phrases inscribed on each strip into the amulet's pocket and snaps it shut. The room seems to swirl around him. Voices in my head tell me that the amulet is a phylactery and that Matisse has spent his last 20 years repeating this ritual every night. The words in my head are a language so old that I can't recognize it, and it is Matisse's voice, raspy and sinister, whispering each word. I feel the man's magical powers that are only matched by his malevolence. Sinking to his knees, he pushes back the sleeve of his robe and places the amulet on his left arm facing his heart. I hear the words, "Bind my intellect and soul to this phylactery," repeatedly. Then he murmurs, "Store my soul and my life force here." He taps the amulet. As he repeats the words, the amulet appears to sink into the skin of his arm. He stands, throws off the long maroon robe he is wearing, and reveals his shriveled nakedness. His words grow louder, and his face and body begin to change, becoming a creature with skin pulled over a skeletal-like frame. Horns break through the skin of his head and curl around his face. He screams in agony, but endures it. The servant enters the room. He, too, is old. He keeps his head bowed and never raises his eyes or looks upon Matisse. "Have you succeeded this time, master?" Matisse lets out a guttural roar. "I am a Lich. I am invincible, immune to any mental attack, poisons, or diseases. Magical energy protects me, allows me to lead great masses of lesser undead warriors. The servant kneels in front of the Lich. Test me, my lord. Matisse whirls toward the fireplace, pulls a sword off its display on the wall, and drives it into the servant's heart, killing him. As the servant dies, the Lich reaches for a needle and vial on the table next to his chair. Jabbing the needle into one of the veins in his arm, he draws a vial of blood and immediately injects it into the dead man's jugular. You will be the first of my undead warriors. I will create an army of ghouls with supernatural powers. You will take my blood now within you and nightly turn others' dead bodies into my mindless killing machines. They, in turn, will do the same. The Lich steps back and watches as the servant's body begins to sluggishly move. Standing unsteady, it staggers to its feet. You will prey on young children and humans, drink their blood, and eat their dead flesh. The servant weaves on his feet and then straightens. Yes, sire. The Lich smiles with malevolence. The beauty of it is that you can only eat humans because you now have RC cells inside your flesh and blood, which will power you. Eating your own kind will taste disgusting to you. Consuming normal food will weaken you physically and make you vulnerable to man-made objects like guns, knives, and swords, which will then be able to kill you. His smile widens. Go now to the Il Milite Ignato cemetery nearby and begin. Bite your wrist and infuse my blood mingled with yours into the mouths of the undead. Each undead body you reanimate has the power to turn others as such. I shook my shaggy head as I completed the retelling of my vision. Opening my eyes, I looked from James to Adam and then the brothers. Zeb, the oldest Moretti brother, got up from the stool at the bar, separating the kitchen from the den, and paced. All of his younger brothers looked to him, and Zachary, the second eldest and the one who always brought a logical solution to any conversation. Zohar stretched his large body in a recliner and downed a bottle of Birra Moretti, one of the most popular Italian beers, and accompanied the brothers owned with their elder sister Zendra, now wife to Cain, the first blood son of Brogio and my mother's master. Leave it to Zohar to be nonchalant at a time like this. My eyes rest on Zane, Zindel, and Zeno, three jokers who took great joy in teasing each other but were vastly loyal to all of us. Along with their brother Zale, they played around, even in battle, making light of tearing their enemies to pieces. Xander, the shyest of the brothers, sighed and strolled out and onto the vine-covered patio overlooking the infinity swimming pool. His thoughts were cloudy and dark. An emerging artist of late, he carried a large pad and charcoal around, and he began to draw out the face of the Lich from my vision. Zoltan, my mother's favorite, sat down on the floor next to Adam and scratched my head. While I lacked his sensitivity, I appreciated his concern, which was always foremost for all of us. Xylon, the battle-scarred and most ferocious of us all, stood and flung a throw pillow from the tan leather sofa at James. We need to crush this creature. Now. Tonight. Collectively, the Moretti brothers were larger than life. Broad shoulders led down to strong muscular arms on exceedingly tall frames. Each had long dark hair in varying shades of brown or black. Their olive skin and golden eyes matched those of their sister Zandra. James's steel gray eyes glared at Xylon. I knew he was piecing together all the information I had shared. Going off half-cocked would be the wrong move. Let's think this through before making any rash decisions. Zachary leaned forward from his leather chair near the fireplace. I agree with James. Xylon stomped to the refrigerator and grabbed one of his family's bottled beer. Adam slid to the floor next to me. His thoughts mingled with James's to pick apart my vision. The two of them were a sight together. James's long silver hair flowed over his wide shoulders. Just a hair shorter than the Moretti brothers, his face was more unique than handsome. Glittering silver eyes were complemented by a strong chin, long nose, and wide brow that stared into Adam's violet eyes. The boy was a replica of his father Brogio. His shaggy silver hair touched his shoulders, and he was lean and almost as tall as Brogio's 7 feet. Have you thought about it long enough? Xylon grumbled after taking a healthy swig of his beer. James sat for a moment with his eyes closed. Then he grimaced. Rather than trying to fight ghouls or whatever creatures the Lich throws at us, let's cut off the head of the snake and go after Matisse. Now that's what I'm talking about. Xylon's fierce reply made my ears hurt. Zeb snorted. Calm down, brother. You're enough to make all of us want to smash in your head. Xylon swirled around with glowing red eyes. Think you can? No, I can. Zeb crossed his arms and glared at his scarred warrior brother. Zachary and Zane stood next to Zeb with their hands on their hips. Xylon shrugged his shoulders and then threw back his head and let out a hearty laugh. We can save it for the battle. Turning to James, he grinned. What's the plan? Adam used his ability to shapeshift that he'd copied from me and morphed into a peregrine falcon, the Earth's fastest creature capable of sustaining 200 miles per hour. Along with our vampire speed, we all made it to the Perennial Palace in 10 minutes. Unfortunately, we didn't make it in time to get to the Lich. By the time we reached his residence, the ghouls had multiplied into the hundreds and now guarded him, along with numerous hellhounds lurking outside. All of them mingled behind the gates to the palace, wandering in an almost listless fashion. Upon our approach, the hellhounds sat, lifted their giant black Rottweiler-like heads, and began to howl. The ghouls stopped in unison, sniffed the air, and turned their glowing but dead yellow eyes on us. The hellhounds appeared to enlarge, and their black eyes turned blood red. It seems, James looked from one to the other of us, that Satan once again is playing the puppeteer. I noticed some rather strange human-like creatures mingling with the ghouls and hounds. Some appeared to be normal humans, but with strange pointed ears or misshapen eyes. Others had very noticeable disfigurements, such as cranial facial distortions, boils, or large growths protruding from all over their bodies. Are those human beings? I turned to James. Disfigured ones at that, James shot back. They are not entirely human, Adam warned. They are more humanoid. Who cares? Xylon clenched his fist impatiently. Wait. Zachary pointed to a tall giant in the middle of the group, who kept shifting from his giant form to a huge bear, and then back to a one-eyed giant. What? Humanoids, Adam interjected, deadly and evil. A dark cloud formed amid the strange oddities. It rushed toward us through the gates, humming like insects. Suddenly, strange oversized fireflies buzzed around our magician and attempted to sting him. With a flick of his hand, Adam ignited them. With one word, "Begone," they exploded. Odd, I shot to him. They only attacked you and ignored the rest of us. Adam grimaced and shook his body as if he was trying to ward off something repugnant. They're Adzi. If we captured them, they'd have become human and tried to possess me. They only go after humans. People possessed by them are viewed as witches. Well, that's all well and good, Zachary interjected. But look out, the ghouls have spotted us. James smashed open the gate and ran headlong at the Lich's protectors. He began to lop off heads and limbs with a silver sword, only to have them reattach and rise again. Zane, Zindel, Zeno, and Zale did cartwheels through the gates and slashed at every creature with which they connected, laying them low before they rose again. All the brothers turned into black dragons so quickly I barely noticed the snap, crackle, and pop of their bones and the sounds of their clothes shredding. As soon as James cut off the heads of a group of 10 creatures, the dragon brothers incinerated them with their fiery breaths, but to no avail. The ghouls rose again. I tore through a group of them, biting legs, arms, or anything that got in my way, but even though my venom and that of my mother and grandfather had destroyed zombies before, something prevented them from succumbing to me now. It's the Lich's immortal blood in them, James' words fill my mind. Yes, Adam chimed in. Like all immortals, fire will only temporarily destroy them. These appear to be supercharged. Every one of us battled through them only to have them reanimate stronger than ever. Frustrated, I felt useless until the realization hit me. The spirit wolf within me remembered when the angels had anointed us with power. The only way to destroy them is with angel power. We have it. Seth and Matthias gave it to us. Together, we can destroy them. The brothers joined us on the ground and took their human forms again. As they transformed, angel light poured from my body. James grasped my neck, and silvery white light poured from his eyes. Adam grabbed James's hand, and each of the brothers hooked on. Our combined light shattered through the darkness and instantly burned holes where the eyes had been in the heads of all the creatures. The light did not impair our vision, and the heat from it didn't touch their bodies. It was neither hot nor cold, just deadly. Our targeted enemies melted to the ground and reverted to black rot that sunk into the pavement of the circular driveway in front of the castle. Disconnecting our contact, we were instantly attacked by 10 hellhounds and approximately 30 demons who had taken refuge inside the castle before they could be destroyed by our light. Out of habit, James swung his sword and took off the heads of 2 hellhounds and a demon. who didn't reanimate but imploded and left soot floating in the air. Ha! My silver blood knight scoffed. Now we're back to the same old routine of temporarily incapacitating them. But they'll be back, Adam interjected. No time to explain. Move back, everyone. Adam faced the demons and hellhounds. The massive Rottweilers crouched. Blood dripped from their jagged teeth, and their eyes glowed red. Dog-like baboon demons, large bird-like creatures with black feline heads, and others with furry bodies, cloven hooves, and leathery wings with faces all over their bodies, circled Adam, ready to tear him to shreds. Before we could intervene, Adam cried out, "In fairness," and launched a fireball filled with a volley of ice spikes toward each of them. Each element delivered 33 points of damage to the demons' bodies as well as to their stamina. As each demon tried to move forward, Adam's spell slowed the attackers for a few seconds. Adam's wizardry sent a combination of fire, ice, and lightning. He kept throwing the spell with each hand until the intense, continuous flames deteriorated the demon's physical abilities, and they vanished by imploding through a literal hole in the fabric of time. The boy turned to us, dusted his hands in an almost take-that fashion, and grinned. The 12 of us stood speechless.